What is up, guys? This is V-Man with MMO Source, and today I'll be reviewing Ragnarok Online, an ancient gem by Korean developer Gravity. This game is based on a comic book by one Lee Myung-jin. It came out back in 2004, and it has evolved so much since then. You start off with a blank character, and other than picking a gender, there's not much to be chosen from at the start. And I absolutely love that because your character evolves in so many ways as you play the game. Initially, there were 13 classes from which to choose from, and your character would evolve into one of these once he reaches a certain level. Now, since the game launched, there have been so many updates that there is now a grand total of 50 unique classes. And no, they're not all generic copies or repaints of the same concept. Every class is different and feels unique. In fact, in-game classes are referred to as jobs, and there's a good reason for this. Depending on what job your character has, your experience within the game world varies. And after you maxed out your first job, you're given a choice between two different branching opportunities for that job, like choosing whether you want to be a swordsman knight or a swordsman crusader. But if that's still not enough diversity for you and you're the type of person who just has to have everything, you have the ability to completely restart your character from scratch, keep your first job, and choose a secondary job on top of it. And if that's not enough for you either, in 2010 they added the ability to renew a character for a second time, allowing for yet another additional job. This way, by the end of your second rebirth character, you'll feel like no other player on the server has quite the same setup as you. And that's a very nice feeling within an MMO. You want to feel like you're different than everyone else. It liberates you from the meta. And on top of all these jobs and rebirths, you can even roll for a super novice or one of the many expanded classes that were added in the newer versions of the game. So the job system alone is reason enough for you to play this game, but that's not all. At least, that's not why I love this game. See, Ragnarok came out in 2004, but thanks to clever foresight and high-resolution textures, this game looks as good now as it did back then. It looks cute. And you could play this game for another 30 years or so, and I'm willing to bet that even that far down the line, the game will still look very cute. That's because it stays within its wheelhouse. I mean, the game doesn't have proper shadows, let alone anti-aliasing or post-processing filters. I love this. The minimum requirements for this game are actually on par with a Pentium 2 machine from the late 90s. That means that if you're feeling adventurous, you could try emulating a Windows environment and playing this game on your phone, your toaster, your smart fridge. I'm not saying you should go out and do this, but just having a video game that has all this depth within such a simple and undemanding engine is just a gift. And speaking of depth, this game probably has more depth than any other MMO in history. Granted, World of Warcraft's expanded universe outshines Ragnarok's, but giving credit where credit is due, that world started expanding after the MMO became famous. Ragnarok was a living, breathing world long before the first user logged on. And speaking of the world of Ragnarok, it borrows from various fascinating mythologies like the Norse mythological lands of Niflheim and Valhalla. The initial story revolved around the comic book, and then, as soon as the game was launched, Myung-jin put the comic on indefinite hiatus to continue the story through the MMO. And that's perhaps the most impressive aspect of this game. Whether you play it or not, the in-game world is constantly evolving. And I don't mean once every 3 years in a disappointing expansion, no. The world is constantly changing, episodically. So if you allow yourself to get immersed into this world, you will be diving headfirst into a book that is continuously being written. And by playing this game, you're given the privilege to be a small part of that story as time goes by. It sounds a bit too deep, honestly, considering I'm talking about this cute 2.5-dimensional MMO from over 10 years ago, but this game has always been hard to pitch to people that have never played it before. It's definitely a well-hidden gem, but if you take the time to unearth it, I promise you, you're gonna keep coming back to it. At the very least, I know you're not going to delete it since it's only 2 gigabytes across 10 whole years of updates. Stylistically, other than being adorable, this game has a very classic Japanese cartoonish style with beautiful attack animations. All the animations are locked in low frame rates, but the motions are smooth, and that is a killer combination in my book. The sound effects are very reminiscent to old 8-bit console sounds, and this just adds to the experience. The music was obviously made by professionals, and the soundtrack is huge. There are separate pieces for every zone in the entire game, and the map is huge, so you're in for quite a treat. I know it's a good soundtrack because it's one of the very few that I don't instantly mute due to it deterring me from the gameplay experience. No, I play this game for the music. It relaxes me. I could honestly keep talking about this game for days because there's so much to be said about the PvP, the PvE, guild versus guild wars, character optimization for teamwork, real-time events, but you don't necessarily need me to regurgitate all that for you. The gist of it is, if you want a high-quality blast from the past, there's a reason this game isn't obsolete yet. It's free, it's on Steam, go get it. Now that's all I got to say about Ragnarok, guys. Feel free to pop a thumbs up if you liked the review, thumb down if you didn't, and as always, subscribe to MMO Source for all your MMO review needs. This is V-Man, signing out.